make any sense? So once again, that's another bill that I will plan to introduce. And looking at, I was contacted by some folks that were very concerned about a disease called crab leukodystrophy, and that disease apparently is readily discernible at birth by a simple blood test. And they asked if I would pass a law, or at least submit a bill, to see if that couldn't be included in screenings. And I said, you bet. So those are just three for starters.
Leroy?
Thank you. Well, I want to be clear with the district that the work that I do is on your behalf. It's the agenda that you tell me that I should focus on. It's the initiatives that the district tells me are important. That's why this last year, so much of my focus is on things that are needed here in southern Colorado, things that are needed right here in Pueblo. For example, an $11.5 million project in Pueblo West for a CBI building. Senate Bill 1, which capped tuition rates for in-state tuition students from 9% to 6% and invested $100 million in higher education. I don't serve to serve special interests. I serve to do the work that needs to happen here in southern Colorado, which is why I protect the state fair, which is why I work to protect the jobs at the Colorado Mental Health Institute and our prisons. So I'm going to continue to work on your behalf.
Well,
George?
yeah. Thank you, Steve. I think my opponent says that he is going to get direction from the people as to which bills he will have and stuff. Doggone it, that recall election was sure a tone of the people. That was an order from the people to get something done. That's the way I see it, and that's why I'm going to proceed with these bills, because that was a mandate from the people as well.
Leroy?
Well, Mr. Henson, I would also point to the water infrastructure and the agricultural resources that are needed. You know, this year I was the only Democrat to be endorsed by the Colorado Farm Bureau. Why? Because they recognize that the work that I'm doing right here in southern Colorado is helping our ranchers and our farmers. There is a lot to southern Colorado. This is an important district. It's a broad district, and we need to make sure that we listen to everyone.
Well, if I may.
Sure, we can go one more
My
round.
opponent once again brought up the water, and absolutely, water is so essential to Colorado and this particular area. You know, we live in a desert. We live in a high country desert. That's the bottom line to it. And you know what? We're in the middle of a drought. My concern, I'm going to tell you what, my concern is now that we've had this wet year, that drought is all of a sudden going to be a fading memory. But we can't do that. We can't do that. We have to be ever observant and ever careful that we don't let this lesson go by the wayside. Yes, we have to protect our water.
Okay, Leroy, this question goes to you first. Should the legislature get more involved in regulating energy rate increases, and should the Public Utilities Commission be adjusted in any way?
Well, I will say that last year this was an important issue. It's an important issue that's been coming for some time. You know, I've been focused on proposing pragmatic solutions to this issue. And I know that last year, when House Bill 1398, which I introduced, I was sounding the alarm and hearing from people in this district who were saying enough is enough. I wanted to empower the Office of Consumer Counsel, but it shouldn't just stop there. We need to do more. In addition to empowering the Office of Consumer Counsel, we need to make sure that we are making sure that we have representation from Southern Colorado on the Public Utilities Commission. This is something that is very passionate to me. I believe that we have room to work, but I am continuing. I will say that I was the only legislator in the Southern Colorado delegation this year that introduced a bill to address Black Hills rates.
George?
Ask me the question one more time. I just want to be sure I understand.
Sure. Do you believe the legislature should get more involved in regulating energy rate increases? Should the Public Utilities Commission be adjusted in any way?
That's what I thought you asked me. So you want the legislature to be involved regulating the PUC. The legislature, which under Governor Ritter passed renewable energy standards, which is the reason why we have higher electricity rates right now. You want the legislature involved in regulating the PUC? That just doesn't make any sense to me. We have Black Hills Energy, a franchise, an exclusive 20-year franchise that came to being 2010 while my opponent happened to be in the city council, and he voted for the annexation of the land. He voted for the tax breaks to Black Hills, and then ultimately supported a ballot measure that went to the people asking them to approve this 20-year franchise. And now he steps forward and says, wow, the rates are high. I got to do something to fix this. I'm really not sure I quite understand that. And in his attempts to fix it, he has meetings with council people, with commissioners, and with Black Hill folks. Great. Some closed-door session somewhere. Who was there? I wasn't there. I don't know who else was there, but I wasn't. I wasn't invited. I didn't know that it was going to happen. So he had these meetings. Then he had a town hall meeting, and who did he invite? Well, the people, public. Great. There's no doubt about it. But were the Black Hills folks there? No. I had a meeting, and I had the Black Hills people, I had the citizens there, and I allowed them to discuss things between the two of them while I stood back in the wings, where legislators sometimes should stay.
Leroy?
Thank you. Well, let me just start by saying, I'm not looking to work with Black Hills. I'm looking to represent the people of Southern Colorado. Secondly, let me be very clear that you don't need an invitation to do your job. But I find it very interesting. You know, right now, Vestas is hiring 800 people at their Pueblo location. There are 1,500 jobs in Colorado as a result of renewable energy. And my opponent on August 3rd, 2013, with the interview with the Pueblo Chieftain, Mr. Roper, said he was against the federal tax credit. I want to ask you, how can you be against the federal tax credit when it's benefiting people right here in Pueblo with local jobs? Yet in the same legislative session, you voted for the Main Street Revitalization Act tax credit. Your philosophy on tax credits isn't helping Pueblo. And I would say that the solar project that we're seeing right now is one of the biggest ones that the state of Colorado has ever seen. So, Mr. Rivera, with all due respect, people in Pueblo need these jobs. These are vital jobs. These are jobs that are paying good wages.
And you know, you're absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct that the wind tax credit is in fact a federal program and something that we can't control, we can't support, we can't vote in favor or against. You're exactly correct. And the thing is, with renewable energies, they're not efficient, they're not as effective as gas or coal. And it's because of national policies that we're now doing without coal. I don't know if you all remember, but President Obama back in the day said you can build a coal factory or a coal generating plant, but you won't be able to do it because it's going to cost you too much and you're going to go out of business. And that seems to be what's happening with these renewable energies here in Colorado. And make no mistake about it, you are paying for renewable energy policies that were established under Governor Ritter and which will only be increased under Senate Bill 252, which my opponent voted for.
One more round?
Please. Well, I do think this is a clear difference for those of you at home and those of you in the audience to weigh, because I believe that the jobs that are coming to Pueblo, that are paying good wages, that have benefits, they are worth the continued investment. And many of the things that my opponent is talking about just aren't factually correct. For example, when I introduced the bill regarding Black Hills, House Bill 1398, he could have co-sponsored it in the Senate. He could have introduced his own version of the bill. There is work that could be done from his office, yet I heard silence. It wasn't until after the legislative session that he had his first town hall meeting regarding this issue. You know, for those of us in Pueblo, we have to look at the investment that not only the state of Colorado has made in regards to Vestas, also PEDCO, also the city of Pueblo, also the county of Pueblo. These are jobs that are finally paying for us, and I would never want to tell 800 employees at Vestas that you should get a pink slip and go home, because I don't support something that's benefiting them here in our backyard because of special interests.
I don't recall saying that employees at Vestas should get a pink slip. Those were my opponent's words. They weren't mine. In fact, my neighbor just a couple of doors down works at Vestas. He's a welder there, and he's happy to have his job, and I'm glad he has it. You bet. But I'm going to tell you what, I'm also very, very concerned about all the people in Pueblo and Pueblo West that are having to pay those high utility rates every month, that they have to make a choice. Gosh, what are we going to have? We're going to do without maybe going somewhere. We're going to have some fun or whatever, or maybe even we're going to do without, I don't know, could be anything, tires on our car, whatever, because we got these higher energy rates to pay. Again, being a business owner, I remember those electric bills coming to me and going, my goodness, this is not good at all. So I, again, feel for y'all.
Mr. Hanson. One short, brief comment. I would just ask Mr. Rivera then, why didn't you introduce a bill or try to address it as your first priority during your legislative session?
George? One more?
My idea, my philosophy or my thought is to do as little with regulations, getting in there. Again, once again, let me go back to the very start. We're going to pass regulations to fix something that the legislator put in place by laws under Governor Ritter. So we're going to pass legislation to fix that? That just, again, that's regulation upon regulation, law upon law. It just does not make sense to me.
Okay. Let's move on to another topic. George, you'll handle this one first. Pueblo City Schools is facing the possibility of the state taking over some of its schools, and District 70 historically has been underfunded by the state. What specific ideas will you take to the legislature to help our local public schools?
School funding, a very, very difficult situation considering our economy and considering the state budget. State budget's a big pie, and only certain amounts, and once the pie is gone, the pie is gone. Definitely, school funding is an extremely high priority. One of the things that I was very, very felt was extremely important was that whatever funding came to the schools came directly to the schools at the local level. Allow the schools to make the decision of what they want to spend the money on. Take away the negative factor. I'm not sure if you know what the negative factor, but basically what it was you had a school funding trajectory, and because of bad economy, the trajectory dropped, and the